Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's better to focus on your long-term goal in the gym, your ideal physique, where you want to end up, or your short-term immediate progress in the gym? Do you think it's better to focus on the long-term outcomes of the gym or the short-term immediate results and improvements that you make? Now, if you're a logical person like me, and you're kind of ambitious and you're focused on goals, you're a very goal-oriented person, you're probably going to be more inclined to say the long-term goal, right? You think, well, it's better to keep the long-term goal in mind because I'm a goal-oriented person and results matter, and so keeping the long-term goal in mind will be like a north star for me, right? That ideal physique will be like a north star for me to chase. But in the case of your physique and the gym, that's actually wrong. The better option is to focus on the short term improvements over time, the immediate improvements over time. Now, why is that? When you focus on the long term goal, when you get anxious about it, when you constantly have it in your head and you're overthinking about the long term goal, your ideal physique, you're constantly comparing your present self with that. So after a workout, when you go in front of the mirror and you look in the mirror and you see who you are in the present and you're thinking about your long-term goal, you're always going to be like, "Oh shit, like I'm not there yet. This sucks. My physique isn't good enough." Like you're always going to be disappointed after every workout, no matter how well the workout goes, because you're constantly keeping your ideal physique in mind. This causes you to get anxious, discouraged. You start to really like overthink. You start to question your training style. You start to get inconsistent because you're discouraged, or do things like you'll put in a ton of effort like 1 week, 1 month, and then because you're anxious about your progress, and then the next month you'll just be burnt out and you'll not push as hard and shit like that, right? In a weird way, focusing on the long-term goal paradoxically actually makes you more insecure about the present. It actually almost like limits your awareness. Like it keeps you inside of your own head when you focus on the long-term goal, even though the long-term goal is ultimately what we are chasing. In the opposite way, when you focus on short-term improvements, how do you think your workouts go? Let's say you're gonna hit a workout. You wake up and you're gonna hit a workout today, and maybe you're like bulking. Bulking is your goal. When you focus on short-term improvements that day, you don't focus on these lofty goals like, oh, I'm gonna hit, over 200 pounds. I'm gonna weigh over 200 pounds lean, and I'm going to, bench this much, and I'm going to get jacked and whatever, right? Have this body fat percentage. When you focus on the more immediate goals, like, okay, I woke up today, and today I'm going to eat a lot. I'm going to eat a lot more than my maintenance. And I'm going to try and gain a little bit of weight overnight. And I'm going to weigh myself tomorrow morning. So you get out of bed, you weigh yourself, you eat a big breakfast, and you're starting to feel good because you're making progress towards your goals, right? And then whenever you work out, let's say you work out in the afternoon, you go in the afternoon and you hit a really good workout because you're concerned with, okay, today I just want to progressively overload on bench press. I just want to progressively overload on deadlift. I just want to progressively overload on squats. So you're focused on that short-term improvement instead of that long-term goal. And when you focus on the short-term improvement, you actually have a better workout because you're just like, all right, I just want to hit 5 more pounds on this exercise. I just want to be able to add 5 more pounds to the bar. I just want to be able to add 10 more pounds to the bar instead of trying to be like, oh, I need to deadlift this by next year. You're like, I just want to improve just a little bit today. I just want to do a few extra reps. And then imagine the end of that workout if you're in this mindset where you focus on short-term improvements and you go in front of the mirror and you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, hell yeah, I look a little bit bigger. I've got a good pump today. It's kind of like, it's very like just simplistic, kind of like yeah, I feel better today than I did yesterday. I look a little bit better, I think, than I did yesterday. I've got a nice pump. I'm starting to look at my biceps. I'm starting to like how my biceps look, excuse me. And I'm starting to feel like I'm improving. Like I feel I'm on the right track. I'm happy at the end of the workout. So now you're in a good mood and shit. And then you go home, you eat a big dinner. At the end of the day, you've tracked all your calories because tracking is important because you're focused on that short-term improvement, right? So you're focused on, can I hit my goal for today, my calorie goal for today, instead of just focusing on the weight goal far in the future. And so you track all your calories and you get all of them. You know, through snacking and big meals, you've completed your calorie goals for today. And so now you can rest easy knowing, okay, yep, tonight I'm going to go to sleep and I know tomorrow I'm going to weigh a little bit more. Imagine how much of a difference that is. On the one hand, where you're focused on long-term results, in a weird way, your brain obsesses over the long-term results and ignores the progress needed to get to the long-term results. And your mental health is more focused on like the present. Like it's not hopeful towards the future, but you're a bit more discouraged, you're a bit more like inside of your own head. You have more negative thoughts. Whereas when you focus on short-term improvements and you almost ignore the goal, not completely, you still need to have a goal in mind, like something like, okay, I'm gonna hit this one day, I'm gonna hit this one day. But when you're focused on short-term improvements, just, okay, I want to eat a lot today. I want to gain a little bit of weight by the end of the week. I want to PR on all my exercises this week if I can. When you're just focused on that, just focused on the progress, you have better mental health, A, and B, you're also going to make progress towards your end goal faster because you're going to be consistently hitting the small milestones. You're going to be consistently hitting the small goals required to get your ideal physique. On the one hand, even though like a lot of people say if you want to undergo change, it's like very very difficult and it almost like it has to be mentally hard for you. Like you have to like feel depressed along the way. You have to hate yourself along the way. I think a little bit of self-hate, a little bit of, you know, anger towards yourself, I think that's healthy, right? But in this scenario, you actually, in the long term, if you're just focused on the long term results, like, oh, I suck, you know, my physique is nothing, I need to get jacked like this guy. When you focus on that, you'll actually make slower progress than if you just focus on like the little retarded, in the moment, instant gratification improvements along the way. You'll actually make much less progress. The reason is because you are not focused on the immediate goals. One of them focuses on the immediate goals, the work required, while one of them focuses on the ideal. And the ideal, while it's nice to imagine yourself achieving your goal, you're not at the ideal yet. You don't have the privilege to imagine the ideal, to strive for the ideal yet, because you really just need to strive towards being a better version of yourself tomorrow, right? If you're at level 1 in the video game, you should not look forward to hitting level 100. You should not obsess about hitting level 100 in a video game. You should obsess about hitting level 2, because that's the one that's achievable. Does that make sense? Anyways, as I was saying, it's kind of like people say that change is hard, change is difficult, you know? And it is very, very difficult. Change is painful mentally, right? But in a weird way, in the gym, when you focus on just how bad you are all of the time, when you focus on that, you have worse mental health, so you're more stressed about the result, but also you make less progress towards your goal. If you can just be happy at the end of the day because you added 5 pounds to the bar, that's a good day. And the results will creep up on you because you have momentum, right? So here's an example with bulking, right? In bulking, consistency is extremely important. So if you were to eat a ton one day, but then you only ate like an average medium amount or even like just a little amount the next day because you're burnt out, I ate too much, you know, bulking's hard, dieting's hard. That averages out to essentially a normal day of eating, like just calorie maintenance. In bulking, what is required is momentum. which means you consistently eat above your maintenance, you consistently make progress, and you don't get inconsistent, you don't fall off, and that leads to accelerated results. So it will become easier to complete your calorie goals every day, and you'll notice that your weight goes up and up and up and up and up, faster and faster and faster, and easier and easier, because you have momentum. And without momentum, you can't make progress. Same thing for weightlifting in the gym, and the small improvements like progressively overloading, right? But basically all goals, when you have momentum, which comes from focusing and completing the immediate goals day to day, you will make accelerated progress so much faster than you could possibly imagine. That ideal physique will just creep up on you one day. If you're just focused on, after the gym, you look in the mirror, you have a nice pump, and you like, just like a little retard, you're just like, oh, my shoulders look nice. I like how my biceps look. I like how my triceps look. If you're just like, it's a very simplistic, kind of just happy-go-lucky way to work out. If you just focus on that and not worrying about the timeline and, how long do I have to get the aesthetic physique and what, fucking don't worry about it. If you just focus on improvements day to day, you will gain so much momentum that one day you'll get a random compliment from someone in the gym. They'll be like, dude, you're looking like, you're huge. Like, oh my God, you're jacked. Do you have any advice for me as a beginner lifter? You'll be like, oh yeah, shit. Like I am kind of jacked. And then you go in the mirror after the gym, you'll be like, damn, like this kind of looks like the physique that I was shooting for when I first started working out. Getting anxious about the long-term goal does nothing for you. In some places, it's kind of healthy, right? It's healthy to say, all right, I want to look like this. The guy that looks like this, the version of me that looks like this, is so much better than my current self. I really hate how I look right now. I need to embody that kind of hate and anger and use it in a healthy way, put it in the gym, really focus on improving myself. Sometimes kind of like negative mental health can actually be a positive. But you can't live in that mode. If you're insecure about how much you push on a certain exercise, or you're insecure about a certain body part or whatever, like, I don't know, maybe you have like a skinny neck or something, skinny legs, something like that. Instead of getting upset about it, what you should do is just think, okay, I'll focus on improving. I'll focus on making improvements in that area. Instead of being like, man, I suck. I don't like this quality of mine. Just be like, all right, well, I'm not going to be anxious about the end result, because being anxious about the end result isn't actually going to do anything for me. It's not going to change the fact that I don't like something about myself in the present. Instead, I'm just going to focus on improving that aspect of myself. If I'm overweight and I look at myself in the mirror and I'm strong, but I'm fat and I'm unattractive, look at myself, I'm not going to be like, oh shit, like I suck so much. Like, God, this isn't even worth it. Like, I'm so far from my goal. That's not helpful. It might be true, but it's not helpful. Instead, what you should think is, you should almost get kind of like excited in your brain anytime you notice something about yourself that you should improve. Like, just be like, I don't know, like, okay, I can see this aspect of myself. I see another flaw about myself, and I'm excited to improve it. And then start thinking about ways that you can improve that. So think, okay, well, what are some good weight loss tactics? I don't know much about weight loss. Maybe I should learn about weight loss. Maybe I should buy a book about weight loss, or search some YouTube videos about weight loss. Maybe I should try and find like some hack. Like what is the fastest way to lose weight? Do I want to do that? Do I want to, just go into a steady maintenance, deficit, excuse me. Do I want to do a steady deficit, calorie deficit? Are there certain exercises that are like the best for burning fat? And then start like thinking about it, sort of like get excited about the opportunity to improve the flaw in yourself. Get excited about those short-term improvements. Rome wasn't built in a day. Don't expect you to fix all of your problems overnight. This is how it mostly happens. When you're a beginner in the gym, before you start the gym, ordinarily you're kind of fed up with yourself. You think, man, I suck. I really need to build more muscle. I need to lose fat. I need to get bigger, something like that. You get into the gym and you start to improve yourself. And as you go along, you begin to notice more and more flaws within yourself as you learn more about bodybuilding, about building an aesthetic physique, about, stuff like fasting or stuff like dieting, bulking, things like this. You begin to notice more and more and more flaws within yourself as you get into the gym and you level up. This is normal. You will actually notice more flaws as you level up, and that's by design. You're supposed to become aware of new things the more you level up in something. And that's actually something to be grateful for. That is a gift, because that is you becoming aware of something you can now level up in. So the beginner in the gym won't even think about something like his deltoids, like his shoulders, right? He won't think about his bicep insertion or whatever the fuck, right? He's just focused on, okay, I'm a skinny fat piece of shit. I need to get into shape. And then as soon as he realizes he can begin to get into shape, and he's like, okay, like I'm actually making progress here, then his awareness starts to open up. He starts to see, ooh, okay, but my biceps are kind of small, or my neck is kind of skinny, or like I don't have good chest genetics, or I haven't built a good upper chest. My deltoids, my shoulders, they don't look that good, and that makes the rest of my physique look bad. And instead of beating himself up, what he should do is say, okay, now I know what to improve in, so let's focus on improving that. And for some reason, focusing on the long-term goal, your like ideal physique that you're gonna get in like the distant future, makes you lazier. The reason is because you can like imagine this. If you're constantly thinking, okay, I wanna weigh 200 pounds lean next year, I want to, have a six pack, and I just want to be able to bench like, 300 pounds, I want to squat 600 pounds, whatever. If you have that kind of like ideal physique in mind in the future, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years out, or like whatever, like your end goal, that's a lot of time between now and then. And so you can kind of be lazy. You can kind of just imagine that you're going to hit that in the future, even if you're kind of like anxious about it. It's so like paradoxical. You're more anxious about it in the future because you're like, I suck, I'm not that. But at the same time, you're more lazy because you're not focused on the progress, you're focused on the end goal, and that's like years out. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you're constantly thinking years out and you miss a day of the gym, or you miss a day of hitting your calorie goals so that you can gain weight, you're not that worried about it. It sucks. You kind of like maybe mentally beat yourself up, but years out is so far for you to comprehend that you're just like, well, whatever, I'll just do it. I'll get there anyways. What's one day? In conclusion, if all you care about is your end goal, then you will be constantly unhappy, unsatisfied, and discouraged, and you'll actually make less progress. Whereas if all you focus on is short-term improvements while keeping your long-term goal in mind, then you can be satisfied anytime that you hit a small improvement. You can be happy, and you can enjoy the entire journey. You can enjoy the entire journey whether or not you've hit the goal or not. And you'll make more progress if you just focus on short-term improvements instead of long-term goals. That's all for this video. If you're interested in building an aesthetic physique and you're serious about it and you're willing to invest in yourself, the top link in the description is my full program. That's all 4.5 years of my lift through knowledge put into one single course. So you should definitely click the link. Just click the link, watch the attached video, and read the page, and just see if it's for you. If it doesn't seem like it's for you, then there's no harm done. But you should definitely check that out, because I think it will seriously benefit you if you're trying to build like an aesthetic, attractive V-taper, like the attractive V-taper, like your dream ideal physique. If you got any value from this video, there's something else you can do, which is a win-win for both of us, which is to scroll down and click the subscribe button. I win because I get a new subscriber. You win because anytime I have a new insight, learn something new, or try something new, I can make a video and directly give you value. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.